Welcome back to Telos, the Purpose Podcast. This is the third episode, and today I'm joined by professional boxer Henry Turner, a rising star in British boxing whose impressive record is built on discipline, hard work, and self belief. We'll talk about what it means to pick yourself back up after failure, the mindset that it takes to stay humble on a winning streak, and the importance of choosing your circle around you. Henry shares what boxing has taught him about life and purpose, lessons that apply outside of the ring. This is an honest conversation about meaning and growth, and I hope you stick around to enjoy it. Let's get into it. Henry, every fighter has a reason for getting in the ring in the first place, beyond just winning. What was that for you?
I think when I was a kid, first of all, going into a boxing gym when I was a kid, I went there just to lose, just to look. My dad took me to lose a bit of weight. I was a bit of a chubby 9-year-old, and at the time, I just wanted to go boxing. So my dad said, "Oh, a tie-in, you can get a little bit of weight off. See how it goes." Didn't really expect anything of it, to be honest. So yeah, I had to put my age up a year because I was meant to be 10. I was only 9 at the time. So his dad took me to the gym, and it just like clicked a little bit. Like they said, "Oh, this kid's got a lot of talent." And my dad was like, "Oh, really?" Like, yeah, I've only really brung him to lose weight. My mum didn't really want me to box at the time. Like, she was like, "Oh, he's too young." But I just carried on through it, and like I said, Dad, unbelievable talent. And in a way, I think boxing's always been in the family just from generations and generations ago. Like, boxing actually started on boxing booths on the fun fairs years and years ago. So it was probably in my genes a little bit somewhere. And like my dad done karate and things like that. So yeah, it kind of it fell into place a little bit, and yeah, like it just went from strength to strength really. Boxing for me, I started at Wickham, not far from here, and then they said he's got a lot of talent, and a coach there wanted to take me to Repton in Bethnal Green, in London, and I had first of all I had about 11 or 12 gym shows like exhibition fights, and then they found out that I was actually a year younger, so I couldn't actually have my first fight for another year. I had to wait a little bit, and then but we went to Bethnal Green in Repton where I had my first actual fight, um, and yeah, I won 10 on the spin. Um, then I had my first defeat, and then I carried on. I won like 22 in a row after that. I won the European Games. I won 7 national titles. It just went from strength to strength. Yeah, for something that didn't feel like it was. My dad just took me to kind of lose a bit of weight. Ended up turning into something big.
Do you remember your way home after your first boxing session? Do you remember what you were thinking about the sport and how you felt about it?
I think as a kid I loved it in a way because obviously there's no damage really getting done as a kid. You're not really getting hurt. You've got big gloves on. Like it's enjoyable. You go in there having a little scrap, and like training's fun. Boxing, yeah, it was. I was probably excited more than anything to go back. And I used to remember this big stairs, like going up to the gym all the time, and it always sinks in my mind. Little kid going up them stairs to go to that gym.
Yeah, and you said that you've been around it as a family, at the fun fairs and stuff.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about that. What was it like for you growing up as a kid, being around?
Yeah, so as a kid, boxing really, it was kind of like going back and forth. Obviously, once I got into like knowing I was quite good at it, my mum used to take us from the because we'd be travelling on the fun fairs all year, all around London. My mum used to drive me 3 times, 4 times a week to Repton in Bethnal Green, and even when I was at school, my mum would pick me up at 3:30 after school and take me to the boxing gym. But yeah, on the fun fairs, I just get up and I had my own little sweet shooter, like where they shoot the sweets off the shelf. So I had done a little bit of work myself, but I'd get up in the morning, do my run, and then I'd do my bit of work on the fun fairs, and then my mum would take me to the boxing gym in the afternoon. So it kind of worked well together, really, because as as a kid, I used to obviously done my schooling in the winter, but in the summer I was homeschooled. So in the summer I could probably box more than what I could in the winter because I had that bit more time on my hands. So yeah, I think it kind of went hand in hand a little bit.
Do you remember, first of all, do you remember what age, and do you remember the moment when you realised that boxing was something that you actually wanted to take somewhere?
Yeah, I think from probably after I had my first like few gym shows, I realised that that's something I really wanted to do. As much as my mum probably didn't want me to do it, yeah, it's something I really wanted to do. So once I ended up going to Repton, and I realised my potential in a way. I was going up there and sparring with the best kids in the whole country. That was it's the best gym in Europe. Repton was known at the time. He had the best fighters, best young kids fighting. Yeah, so once, and then obviously I went, my first national title I actually lost. I got to the final and I had a bad decision against me, and it kind of, I was gutted and I was so upset about it, and I knew my potential, and I went back to the gym and I trained as hard as I could, and then I went unbeaten for like 24 fights after that. Went to European Games, won 2 national titles on the spin. So yeah, I think, yeah, I realised I had a lot of potential really from my first fight. Really, I knew I could go as far as I wanted it to go, sort of thing.
You mentioned that you went to, what was the name of the gym? The
Repton
Repton.
Boxing
And
Club.
you were around lots of high level boxers, people training probably
Yeah.
pretty hard and stuff. Would you say that had a big impact on you as a young boxer, being around people with
Yeah, I think
higher?
well, even the coaches, there was high level coaches, like they'd been boxers back in the day and very good boxers, like had multi-time national champions. So, and you was around kids that was multi-time national champions, older as well. So I used to have the best of the best sparring, and it only ever brought, every time I went to that gym, I was just getting better and better because you had the best sparring. I remember going to the boxing gym, I'd stand up, we'd do the sparring in the evening. We'd stand up the ring for 2 hours just sparring non-stop. You can only ever get better from that. Like, you're in there with the best. So it's, yeah, like you said, it probably did bring me on a hell of a lot. Whereas when I first went to the gym, I was more just a come forward fighter, just having a scrap, and then I ended up becoming a natural back foot counter puncher that was ended up being really good at it.
Yeah. So they say you're some of the 5 people you spend the most time with. Do you reckon being around those higher level boxers helped kind of inspire you a little bit?
Yeah,
Take anything from
there was a kid called Levi Coates, Southport kid, because I'm a Southpaw. And I always used to go up to the gym and I always watch him, and I always wanted to be like him. He was multi-time national champion and he was so gifted and talented, an unbelievable fighter. I always used to watch him, and I think I learnt a lot from him just watching him, the way he counter-punched, the way he got inside and the way he moved his feet. I watched him constantly as a kid, and I always took a lot from him more than anyone, really. Obviously there was a lot of other good fighters there, but where he was a southpaw and very similar to how I wanted to box and wanted to be like, I always used to take the most from him.
Talk to me about like being a southpaw. Do you reckon it throws a spanner in the mix? Do you reckon people struggle to fight you?
I think being a southpaw, a lot of people find it awkward. Because where they're most of the time they're always fighting orthodox. There's quite a lot of southpaws out there, but in boxing there's nowhere near as many as there is orthodox. So they're always used to fighting orthodox fighters, and a lot of the time I'll come up against a fighter that's never fought a southpaw. So I know it's going to be difficult for him before I even get in there. Like, you can watch their fights beforehand on YouTube or whatever, and they can look alright, but you know in your head they've never fought a southpaw, and then I know they're going to find it difficult, sort of thing. So
I suppose it's quite normal for you to just fight orthodox anyway.
Yeah, so I'm so used to orthodox. If anything, we find southpaw versus southpaw awkward.
Yeah.
So they're always fighting orthodox, and you think, how do they not find that awkward? Because when we box a southpaw, we find it awkward, but they're so used to it. So I suppose if I got used to fighting a southpaw all the time, it'd be fine. You get used to it. But where we fight orthodox all the time, we've got our knack of how to fight an orthodox, and then when we fight a southpaw, we find it a little bit awkward ourselves.
So I believe your amateur record is 60-4.
Yeah, I had 16-4 as an amateur.
That's pretty impressive. Those 4 losses didn't seem to knock your consistency in those 60 wins.
Yeah, it was at such high level, all them losses. Like you said, my first loss was a national final as a kid. I'd only been boxing a couple of years, which I thought I won. And like you said, in boxing you can lose a fight that you didn't really lose. So in a way, like the European quarter final was my first Europeans that I went to. I boxed the Russian world number 1. I dropped him in the first round. They didn't count it. And it's so, like, boxing can be a little bit corrupt sometimes, and you need a little bit of luck at the same time. But yeah, I had a couple of genuine losses that I did lose, and like you said, you just got to learn from them setbacks, and it makes you better. Like you said, I'd lose and get up the next day, straight back in the gym, and that is what made me better and better and better.
I'm sure you've seen the Rocky films as a boxer, but
Yeah.
There's that famous quote from Rocky Balboa. It's not about how hard you can hit, it's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward. What was going through your mind during these losses as a young kid?
Obviously, as a kid, it's devastating. Like my first loss, I think I remember sitting in my mum and dad's bedroom for about 3 or 4 days, and just they couldn't console me because it's like I love boxing that much that it meant so much losing, and like obviously as a kid you wanted to win that first national title, and there was other boys. I think that year there was 14 boys in the national finals, 12 of them won and 2 of us lost. Um, so yeah, and you're watching them with their golden gloves and things like that, and it's just like they couldn't console me, and I knew I wasn't going to let it happen again. So, like I said, I got up the next after I finished crying for a few days. I went straight back in the gym, and I trained my arse off, done everything, sparred the best there is, and then I went unbeaten for 24 fights until I got beat in the European quarterfinals a couple of years later. But I won 2 national titles straight after that, beat some top level kids. I just knew in myself that I wasn't, and obviously you can't again. Eye level happens again.
Yeah.
You got to keep getting back on that horse in a way and just carrying on and making yourself better.
How'd those 2 titles feel for you?
Unbelievable, yeah. As a kid, there's nothing better. Like especially as an amateur, and you could ask a lot of amateur boxers, nothing means more to them than winning a national title, winning the junior ABAs, being schoolboy champion. It meant a hell of a lot, and like to even look back now, even as a pro, like they're still my proudest moments of winning them national titles and winning the Europeans. Like to win a European Games gold medal as an amateur is an hard task. You're boxing the best in the world.
You boxing pro fighters as an amateur, or or is it just an amateur competition?
So there'd be amateur competition. So all them boys in that tournament are amateurs. And obviously when you turn pro, you box. It's different, yeah. But yeah, as a kid, yeah, looking back is the best thing ever.
And you turned pro in 2019?
Yeah, I turned pro quite early, just before my 19th birthday. I turned pro. Yeah, so I had my first fight in December 2019 on quite a big undercard at the time.
You were at what, 18, or you just turned?
I was just turned 19. Yeah, so that was December, so a couple of months after I was 19. So quite early in a way. I had a loss I had a loss, and I come back, won the Haringey Box Cup, and then I kind of fell out the love of the amateur sport a little bit, just because it was a little bit corrupt. I wasn't getting, well, I had one loss, and it was kind of like you get forgotten about a little bit on the England squad and things like that. So I decided I was going to turn pro and have a fresh start, and it's probably the best thing I've done because it got the love and everything back for the sport again, and got the fire back inside of me, and yeah.
Did you feel a change in expectations in you from people around you when you turned pro?
Not so much changing obviously, because I had my couple of fights as an amateur, so I was a bit of a stale couple of years between turning from amateur to turning pro, so I wasn't doing a lot. So my first fight really was to just go out there and do it the best as I can, and I ended up going out there and probably boxing one of the best I've ever boxed. And even people would say, like, high level trainers, like Jimmy Tibbs said, it's one of the best debuts he's ever seen. So having your first fight and someone telling you that's been around the sport, been in with world champions, it's a good feeling.
And your current record is 15-1.
Yeah.
Tell me about the 1.
Yeah, so that was actually last year, October last year. My 13th fight, I boxed a kid called Jack Rafferty. He was 26-0, unbeaten. It was for the British and Commonwealth. Probably a little bit too early, maybe in my career, but it's me being stubborn, and I know how good I am, so I was not letting up on the opportunity. Like, we both got made mandatory, so instead of making a deal, I could have probably made a deal, and he could have boxed for the British title, and I could have boxed for his Commonwealth, and then we could have met further down the line, when I probably would have been more than ready for that fight. I'd say skill-wise, I was winning the fight. I was 7 rounds up, 8 rounds up. I was winning the fight easily. And his experience, I think, and I was probably at the weight a little bit too long, but I wouldn't ever blame it on the weight. I'd just say his experience, and he got the fight right in the second half of the fight, and just kept the pressure on. And he got the win. So
you'd say he was better tactically in a way.
Not
experience.
Yeah, I think not tactically. Technically, he wasn't better. I was winning the fight easy. Like I said, I was boxing his head off most of the fight. He just persistent. he just kept coming forward, and he's such a big boy at the weight. I think he rehydrates massive overnight. It was mad because when we see him the day before on the scales, he looked so small, and the next day he was completely huge in the ring. It's mad. And like, yeah, you just where his presence was so big, and I was moving my feet all the time, trying to box to the best. I was just trying to have a complete clean sweep and win the fight easy. I moved my feet probably too much and was doing a bit too much early on in the fight, and he just didn't do anything the first half of the fight. He was just obviously he was probably struggling to get to me a little bit, but in the end it paid off because I slowed down, and then that's when he come into the fight and he got it right. So yeah, so that was my first loss to the pro, but I think if anything I've learned a lot from it. I think I'm probably twice as better now than I was last year. Strength wise, maturity, a lot of maturity's come into it. I was only young still like it was just after my 24th birthday, so yeah, I was still young.
The stakes are high in a fight like this. This is your biggest fight.
Yeah, that was as a professional, like a British and Commonwealth title as a professional was a massive fight, especially for domestic fighters like English fighters. That's where you want to. That's your first big step. So to lose it was really gutting because I know if I'd have won that fight, I had a lot of good opportunities after. Like there was even talks of it maybe going out to Saudi Arabia, boxing for a world title or a world title eliminator. So it was gutting in a way. But at the same time, I was young, and it's probably done me a favour in the long run. Like now, I think like if I box for a British title again, I'm going to be twice better fighter I am, and then eventually when I get that world title fight opportunity, I'll be more than ready. Whereas if I had it last year, I probably wasn't going to be ready. I was probably a bit too young. So even if I won that fight and I got in a world title fight, I was probably a bit too young to be in a world title fight with some of the best in the sport. You know what I mean?
How do you deal with the pressure of like such a big fight so early on? So many thoughts must be rushing through your head.
Yeah,
how do you stay composed?
It's a little bit I say it's a little bit nerve wracking. Like you said, I've always got nerves, and you always get nerves in a fight just before because you never know what can happen. Like as much as you know you're prepared to the best of your ability, like you said, one punch can change everything in a fight, and I think you're always going to be a little bit nervous. But I think it's a good thing to have them nerves. If I went in the ring without no nerves, I'd be a bit worried because them nerves keep you switched on and make everything spot on, keeps you sharp, everything. So I always say, yeah, nerves are a good thing in there. And yeah, like mentally, I think you just got to stay focused in them kind of fights. Can't get sucked in with the crowd and things like that. Fight was in Liverpool, that British title fight, and obviously I'm from London, so I had nowhere near the support he had. He's from Manchester. And when I come out and when he come out, you could hear the people screaming. But like you said, my trainer said, listen, after 2 rounds of you completely schooling him, the crowd will go quiet. Don't worry about it. And he was right. Spot on. After 2 rounds, he didn't hear a soul from his supporters. It was only till obviously the second half of the fight and things started changing again. But yeah, I think you just got to stay focused. The main thing is just not to take in the surroundings. When you're in a big fight like that and you've got massive crowds, you've just got to stay tunnel vision and just stay focused on the opponent.
I like your outlook on the nerves and stuff. It's almost like you're saying
you got to
stress is your friend, not
you
your
got to
enemy,
use
right?
it as I think you've got to use it as a positive because it does help you, I believe. I feel like if you go in there with no nerves, it's dangerous because you can switch off. And then that's when you get caught. And like you said, in boxing, in the tiny little gloves with no padding, it only takes one.
And there's, again, high stakes, big crowd. Is that the biggest crowd you've boxed in front of?
Yeah, it was packed out. I was co-main event that night.
Yeah.
I've been co-main a couple of times before that, but on smaller shows at like York Hall and things like that. So the crowd ain't as big, but that was a big arena, and I was co-main event, and it had a lot of hype around that fight at the time, like because we was both unbeaten. He was 26-0. I was a really hot prospect coming forward through, so there was a lot of hype around that fight. Everyone wanted to watch it. Like you said, there was like people like Tyson Fury and things ringside watching that fight. So yeah, so it was probably the biggest event I've been involved with so far.
And how do you practice staying focused and, as you said, tunnel vision and shutting out the noise? Like, do you have any practices outside of the ring to help you do that?
I wouldn't say so much. I'm very good at just being able to switch off. Like if people say when they get in the changing room, watch your fight, they said it's like you're a different fight. You go from coming out the ring, you're quite happy and like talking, and he said you get in the changing room and it's like you switch and you just. And I think I've just over the years of experience, obviously I had a lot of amateur fights and now 15, 16 fights into my pro career. You just got to switch off, and literally as you switch off, you just stay tunnel vision, and I won't take nothing in. I listen to my trainers. I don't, just somehow I'm happy. I'm easy enough to switch off and just crack on.
So you train frequently, and then
Yeah.
probably train more frequently in like the camps and the preparation for a fight and stuff. Outside of the boxing ring, or in general boxing training, do you have any disciplinary habits or things that you do to just keep your physicality in check?
For me, like, my mental end of it, like, my discipline, like outside the ring, I've got to keep training no matter what. If I'm out of a camp, every morning I have to do something to do training. I feel like it's just a discipline thing. I think it helps my mental state as well. I have to do something. If I don't do it, it kind of gets to me a little bit. So I know that I have to get up in the morning, even if I've got a busy day and I'm not even in camp and I've got other things to do. I have to do something just to keep my mental state and
go for a run, go to the
gym. I'll go to the run, go to the gym. Just as long as I do something. I mean, I train quite hard anyway. Like even outside the ring, I enjoy training hard. Like I'll go and do half marathons, 10Ks. I've done IROXs. I've done everything. I always keep myself quite disciplined outside the ring. So when I go back in the camp, it's not like it's a big shock. It's just a lifestyle in a way. Like I've always done it. I enjoy training hard. So yeah, I think.
What's the hardest camp you have been through in preparation for a fight?
Probably the Rafferty fight, because it was my first 12-round fight. Like I said, I trained as hard as I probably could have. I trained my running. I'm very fit anyway going into camp, and I was in the gym probably in a hard training from June until October, just because the fight kept getting pushed back. I was meant to fight. I went in camp in May, and the fight was meant to happen in July, and then it got pushed back. So I went back in the camp at June. Then they told me August. Then it was meant to be September, and it'll be in October, which is a frustrating thing. That's a really frustrating thing as a boxer. But I knew I had to stay disciplined, and like you said, I had my longest and hardest training camp, which I think sometimes I might have trained a bit too hard. I think I probably hit my peak a little bit and then started to fade off. So it can play both ways. You think you're fittest, but sometimes you can overtrain and you start going on a decline a little bit. And I think just as a young boy, my body really shouldn't have been at that weight. I'm trying to grow. Like now, I probably weigh. So what was it? I'm over 2.5, probably 2.5 stone heavier now than what I was in making weight for that fight. So I was holding my body back as well, and I think like all them little things probably played a part in that second half of the fight that night, just because it wasn't just my fit. I know I was super fit. Pretty good. My resting heart rate was like 33s, 34s, fit as I've ever been. And I think it was like you said, making the weight a little bit and probably being in training too long. And like you said, it just zaps you a little bit. And that's probably what cost me the second half of the fight, looking back, and a little bit like maturity and inexperience.
It sounds a lot to me like you've got an incredible ability to bounce back off of a loss, in particular with your. Well, this fight is such high stakes. You probably really want to
after this fight, after that fight, has been a little bit difficult because I've come back on like small fights now. Like both of my fights, I've stopped them early on. The first one went 1 round and the other one went 3 rounds. But it's just the fact of coming back now for no titles. There's no titles involved. And like there's no crowd. Like my last fight I probably boxed when I was first on the show. So you come from being co-main event to arena absolutely packed out to being first on the show, and probably I bet there was 50 people in the arena because I boxed in Manchester in my last fight. So it's not my hometown anyway. And yeah, probably only 50 people. It's a mad difference. That's probably challenging as a mental thing really. Yeah. And it's hard to get up for a fight like that. Like you said, you're going in there. It's a lot lower level than what you was just at, and you've still got to perform. You know what I mean? And it's hard to get yourself up for that. So that's probably your most challenging thing. You ain't getting up for a fight that's hard. It's getting up for a fight that's you're probably gonna win easy.
Yeah. You feel like
keeping switched on.
Much to achieve as the previous one. What's been your proudest moment as a boxer?
I'd say my proudest moment, probably as a boxer, is probably back in the amateurs. Like you winning that European gold medal for me was probably the best. I went in there, got a very hard draw at the start of the tournament. I a hard Georgian kid that was world number 3. I beat a Denmark kid that was 2-time European champion and world bronze medalist in the quarters. And then I had 5 fights in total, but them 3 kids, and the final was against the world number 1 Russian that I beat in the final. That was probably my proudest moment. I had 5 good wins on the back in a matter of a week, winning them all clearly. And yeah, becoming European champion, yeah, we're the best in Europe. Probably, yeah, still my proudest moment. As a pro, obviously, I've I won this WBC international title out in Dubai. That was probably my proudest moment as a pro. And I suppose I can say I've boxed for the British and Commonwealth at such a young age and so early on in my career. I suppose it's an achievement, but it's not something I'm proud of because I didn't win it. I still know I'm better. I know better than I can do better than that. It's not. I can't settle for that sort of thing as a pro. I'm not happy with it. So as a pro, I think I'm still yet to achieve what I want to achieve.
When you achieve like such a big goal, like that European gold medal or the WBC and out in Dubai, do you find that because there's so much anticipation and you have all the preparation and your mind's focused on this goal and it's all about moving towards this goal.
Yeah.
When you actually achieve the goal, do you look for a peak even higher?
Yeah, I think so. I think you always want more. I think that's just the way in general in life. You get something and you want more. Whether you're making this amount of money, you want more money. You want to get further and further. And I think, like you said, as a European title as a amateur was unbelievable. But at the time, I probably wanted to do more. I wanted to be world champion after that. And I missed out on the Commonwealth Games. I was on a GB camp not long after that. And I got my tooth snapped in half, so I couldn't go. So I had to have a bit of time out for that. But like you said, yeah, I think like as a pro now, like British and title is not where I want to be. I want to be European. I'm knocking on the doors for world titles and world champion. So I've got to get through all these stages. So yeah, I think you always want more, no matter what, like you said. And then when you become world champion, you probably want to unify the division. You want to be undisputed. Like for me now, looking at being world champion is unbelievable. Like if I achieved that, I'd be unbelievably grateful. But I think if I got there, I'd know I'd want more, and I'd want to win all the belts, and I'd want to go through the weight divisions and win all the world titles. So I think it's endless. You always want more out of. I think especially in sport, I think you just want more and more.
You mentioned that there was that kind of like deflated feeling on the fight after
The Rapid he lost.
Yeah. Did you feel that after you won the European gold medal or anything like that? Did you start your next fight thinking this isn't as high stakes, this isn't for as much?
I think as an amateur it's a bit different because like coming off a European title, obviously I was on a buzz, and then I didn't ever go back to any low level fights. I was straight back into national tournaments and like England, fighting for England and things like that. So everything was high level. So it's a bit different as a pro. Like if you ever lost as a pro, it's like you've got to rebuild. Whereas an amateur, you can lose a fight and the next fight will be a high level fight. You're always fighting the best as an amateur. That's just how it goes. And like you said, losses as an amateur ain't really detrimental as much as they are as a pro. Like losing that fight as a pro was a lot more detrimental than losing a fight as an amateur, just because it's a complete different. In a way, it's a complete different game. It's a business. So as you lose, you people are like, oh, he's rubbish. Like, they don't want to watch him no more and things like that. You get the keyboard warriors and say he's rubbish. He can't do this, can't do that, and yeah, I think it's a lot more detrimental, just business wise, and then people watching you as losing as a pro than it is as an amateur.
Your mentality, your discipline of being able to pick yourself up again after you lose a big fight, little fight, whatever. Do you find you have to have like a mental discipline about yourself when you're on a winning streak to keep yourself, not overconfident, to keep yourself in check?
Yeah, I think you've got to kind of keep yourself grounded, and I've always found that in all ways of life, really, I've always been quite a grounded person, quite humble. Like, I never try and get too ahead of myself because there is always someone better out there, no matter what. As a pro boxing, there's always someone better than you. So you have got to keep yourself humbled and focused, and that's the big thing in boxing. If you start getting overconfident, think you're better than what you are, that's when you come unstuck. I feel like you've always got to train as an underdog in a way. You've always got to go in that fight thinking like you can lose this fight, and like you always got to train as an underdog to I think to get the best out of yourself.
Do you look for like opponents that you see as maybe higher skilled than you to improve your ability as a boxer?
Yeah, I think even as a pro, like it's a different it's a business. So like the promoters are trying to build you, and like they want to get you the lower level fights to make you look good, and then they want to build you slowly into the higher level fights. But when you come, I think for me, when you come out of like really like the Rafferty fight's an example, um, it was a high level fight, and probably my promoter and my management team didn't want me to take it that early on. But where I was at such a high level amateur, I believe, obviously, I believe myself, and I've fought at such a high level. I want to take the high level fights such early on, and I feel like I could have done it and won it, and like you said, go on and win world titles. So yeah, I think I always like to have a harder challenge in a way. Some boys don't. Some boys would rather take the easy and look good. Like I said, I don't want to look back at my career and think, oh, you know, I've had 20 fights. I was unbeaten, but I didn't really fight anyone. I'd rather look back at my career and maybe if I have to have a few losses or a couple of losses, I had 30 odd fights or whatever, and I fought the best, and I've won some great fights and won plenty of titles on the way. I'd rather look back at a career like that and look at a career that was unbeaten, but I didn't really fight anyone.
So, what would your definition as a boxer for success be in your career?
Definition of the box to become success. I think you've got to stay focused to be successful. You have to stay focused. You have to have a lot of discipline. You have to be mentally tough. I think because you get your challenges like, you know, especially as a professional boxer, there's a lot of obviously it's business and politics involved. I think you've got to be mentally tough. You've got to stay focused on the physical side of things. Disciplined, definitely. You can't afford to slip up, and definitely as a pro, you can't afford to slip up. You've got to stay focused and keep mental toughness up.
And what if you look back at your boxing career when you know when the time is for you to finish? What do you think will make it feel like you have fulfilled your boxing career?
So
Do you have any goals, any belts you want to
yeah,
win?
like you said, I'd love to be world champion. So like, I'd love to look back at my career and think I've always wanted to go the traditional route, hence why I box for the British title. Some boys go the international route, which is a little bit easier, I believe. You can win international belts by boxing less opponents from other countries and things that ain't as tough. But I feel like, especially in England, the domestic level, we've got such a high level of fighters here in America. Obviously, a lot of other countries too, but I feel like here in America is quite big for boxing. For me to go the domestic route of winning the British, the Commonwealth, like, and then going on to European, then world is what I've always wanted to do. Because when you look back in your career, you think you've done it the hard way. You didn't kind of beat around the bush, get these little international belts and things like that. Obviously, when I boxed for my international belt, it was my 9th fight. So really, it was just a fight to get me a title and get me a ranking somewhere. It wasn't I wanted to go the international route. It was just to get my first belt. So straight after I won that belt, it was back to domestic, and like you said, getting the British title, getting the Commonwealth, getting the European, and then getting onto the world. And that's still my goal now. Like I've moved up to welterweight now, so the goal is now to get the British, Commonwealth, European, and try and box for a world title. And definitely that's what I want to do before my career's over.
So you have quite a strong foundation in your skill. Like you've worked your way up from boxing in the fairgrounds and
Yeah.
all that kind of stuff. Do you reckon that's had a positive impact on you compared to like other boxers who maybe haven't quite worked their way up like the way you have?
Yeah, I think I've been fortunate to have such a good amateur background, and I was fortunate that I made that decision as an amateur to go to Reptile Bethnal Green, even though it was a lot of commitment as a young kid to go 2 hours to the gym and back 3 or 4 nights a week as a kid. That's a lot of commitment. A lot of kids don't want to do that and don't do that. Like they want to go and play on their Game Boys, go out play football and like mess around. Whereas I was so disciplined as a kid, it's helped me in the long run and it got me better. And like I said, I was being topped as one of the hottest prospects as a pro, and like I was a very good amateur. I think, yeah, like I was fortunate to go to a good club, but also I feel like I worked for everything. Like I worked for the skill set I've got now in a way, because I put so much effort in as a kid and lost out on a lot of like my childhood. Really, not that I didn't really. I went to probably handful of parties as a kid, like kids, like children's parties, birthdays, and things like that. I missed out on so many events, weddings. Like a lot of my childhood, yeah, in a way, I missed out on so much to sacrifice to get where I am in boxing.
A lot of people struggle with the short-term sacrifices with having a long-term goal in mind to achieve. Did you feel like you had that kind of like fear of missing out with friends and stuff at parties?
Yeah, I think you always think, oh, I wish I was there and things like that. But at the same time, I always used to think, oh, what I wanted to win as an amateur and things like that. So it always kept you in check, and like it always kept me disciplined, and like stopped me going out because I knew what I wanted to do.
And when you look back on the things you've missed as a kid,
Yeah, I don't regret nothing. Like you said, it's always there when you're finished. Like I said, even when I finish boxing, I will probably only be in my early 30s, or I know my career won't go forever, and it's all them things are still there afterwards. You're still young, you still got all them parties and weddings, and you can always go out and enjoy with friends. You're better off to sacrificing young and being able to live your life. Like you said, if I can set myself up by the time I'm 30, like in my early 30s, I've got the rest of my life to live happily.
that's
I
quite
haven't got to work hard, and
yeah.
yeah, that's my thought process anyway.
It's quite an impressive mindset to have at such a young age, because when you're young, you're teenage, you feel like you want to fit in a little bit.
Yeah.
You don't want to be isolated and all that kind of stuff. So it's defo key. That's why you're pretty successful at quite a young age still. Also, you grew up. You said your dad was a boxer. Did you say?
My dad, yeah, but my dad used to do a bit of karate. He wasn't. My dad's not the overly active person now, but as a kid he used to do karate, and I think it's something where we were adding our genes. Obviously, probably my granddad used to do a bit of boxing, and my great grandfather. So it's kind of always been there a little bit, whether it's martial arts or boxing. So it kind of just probably did help a little bit that my family knew about the sport, and like I used to mess around with my dad when I was a kid, and
So that surrounding definitely, would you say, helped you?
yeah,
Like,
I'd say it helped me, yeah, a little bit maybe. Like got me into the sport probably because I wasn't very good at football. I did try football at the start. I wasn't very good at that, but I always had a little bit of an knack for boxing, like because I enjoyed it so much and I liked it. So I was always willing to learn. Whereas when I went football and things like that at school, I couldn't really be bothered. Like, just you didn't take it in. But where I enjoyed boxing, I took it. I soaked it all up like a sponge. So I think, yeah, being around it and also enjoying it is what helped me out a lot, really.
and a lot of people in the pursuit of their goals, they have people around them saying, and the more extravagant the goal, more people are going to say, oh, you
Doubt
can't do that.
doubt you, yeah.
Yeah, they'll doubt you. You've got the external doubt. And a lot of the time it's by people who care for you, because, like you said, your mum cared for you and she's probably one of your biggest supporters.
Yeah.
She didn't want you to get hurt and all these kinds of things. What would you say to someone who has a lot of that external doubt and they feel like it really brings them down and they really want to achieve their goals? Maybe
Yeah,
a boxer.
I think it's having your surrounding with like good friends. If like, I think you should have friends that are gonna believe in you. Like I've got a very good group of friends around me. Only a small group of friends, but are very positive towards getting you to where you want to be. Like they always like if I have a rubbish day and things like I think, oh, I don't know what to do about this boxing. It's doing my head in a little bit or whatever. And they always like, do you remember where you started? And like one of my good friends, Fred, always rings me up all the time. It's always like, yeah, you got to keep going. Like you're gonna get where you need to be and things like that. And I've got a good friend that's Evan that's in fitness. I've got like a good few close friends that like have kept me like in the like focused and like they because they enjoy the boxing and fitness so much. They've kept me into it. So I think having a good surrounding is what you need. Like you need good people that believe in you around you, especially family as well. Like my mum and dad believe in me. As much as she don't want me to do it, she knows how good I am at the sport, and she wouldn't want to see me chuck it away. So as much as like she probably don't want to see me get hurt or anything like that, she knows how good I am, and like you said, she supports me, and she wouldn't want me to go and just give up tomorrow, sort of thing. So yeah, I think, and especially as knowing when the people got doubt on things, you've got to realise how far you've come from the start. And what's the point of giving up now? Like you got to keep going.
Yeah.
At least when you get to the other end, you say you tried. You know what I mean? And if you make it, all well and good. And like you said, you're set up for life. And if you don't make it, at least you tried. You know what I mean?
Choose your friends wisely. That's defo.
I think yeah, just choosing your surroundings wisely. Like I said, I've got a good group of friends, a good family around me, and it's definitely helped me in the long run. and kept me in check. And like he said, if you had friends that are going out partying all the time and drinking, and like, it's going to have a negative impact on you, because you're going to end up eventually following what they're doing, because you think, oh, you're missing out. But where I've had friends around me that don't really drink, don't go out partying, they just like their life, they like the gym. A couple of my friends boxed. Some of my friends work hard. It's just, yeah, in general, it's just kept me on the straight path.
What would you say to someone they've got the goals and want to do well, it's whatever it is, whatever field, maybe it's boxing, maybe it's football, maybe it's business, but they're around the group of friends who don't want to do that, and they do want to go out clubbing and drinking and taking drugs or whatever? What would you say to that person who is maybe looking for a new group of friends, and how would you say to them to deal with, parting way with that old group of friends?
Yeah, I think they've just got to look at their goals. Like I said, if you want to get to where you want to be, unfortunately, you've got to remove yourself from that situation or that group of friends if they're having a negative impact, and like if you feel like you're not going to get where you want to be, and like they're not helping your like success, like to move forward in life and achieve the goals you want to, you have got to remove yourself. That's how I just see it, and find people that are going to believe in you, are going to help you move forward. And like you said, yeah, everyone's got friends that are like I've got friends that have a drink and things like that, but they're also still good friends. Like they wouldn't make me go out and say, I drink this, take drugs and whatever else. They all know and respect that I don't touch none of that, don't drink, don't smoke, don't touch drugs. And they respect that, and they all some of my biggest supporters come to every single one of my fights, support my career. I think you can have friends that have got a different way of life to you, but as long as they're supporting you, that's the main thing. And like you said, and your close friends that are helping you, I think you just got to have a good support. And if you feel like they're not giving you that, remove yourself from the situation and remove yourself from that friendly group, because obviously, if a good friend would want to see you do well, if they don't want to see you do well, then they shouldn't be your friend.
That's true. I like the premise of finding a good friend as being a good friend is someone who is genuinely happy for you.
Yeah, genuinely wants to see you do well and achieve your goals and to see you succeed.
And the reverse is they're genuinely upset for you when something goes wrong. I think that's
like when I lost my British title fight, I was obviously upset, and that I had two of my friends didn't leave my side the whole night. Like it was like 3-4 o'clock in the morning. They didn't leave the room. They was just as gutted as I was, crying and whatever else. Obviously, I was really upset, but like you said, they stuck with me. And then hopefully one day we'll be celebrating together, like when we get to where we need to be and achieve the goals we need to achieve, and like we'll be celebrating together. So you got to go through the highs and lows, and then friends have got to go through the highs and lows with you.
You are the sum of the 5 people you spend the most time with and stuff. And there's a concept that I'm quite familiar with, and it's quite important for quite a lot of people, but it's called the lonely chapter.
Yeah.
And it's where you kind of part ways with your old set of friends or your old surroundings and your old habits and stuff, and you're kind of trying to change and transition into this new person that you want to be. And then in between, there's this lonely chapter where you feel like you're not really with anyone who's like you. You kind of fancy turning back. You feel quite lonely. You feel like you want to, you're missing out. There's this big stage of that.
Yeah.
And then eventually there's the light at the end of the tunnel, and you start to become the person that you want to be, and you start to find more people like you and all that sort of thing. What would you say to someone could be going through that stage? Would you say to keep pushing forward?
Yeah, I think you just got to keep pushing forward, like you said, and just stay on your path. And like you said, it ain't always going to be that way. You ain't always going to be lonely. You'll eventually get to where you want to be, and you'll get the right set of people around you and the right surroundings. Obviously, temporary, you might feel a little bit lonely, but do you want to go back and slip into the old habits and not achieve your goals, or do you want to move forward and achieve your goals, and eventually you will get the set of people around you? Yeah, I think you just got to keep moving forward, like you said, and just not think about what you're missing out on, or just got to keep moving forward. Like some people succeed being a little bit lonely. Like my sister was quite someone that liked being a little lonely, but she achieved a lot. Like she was very academic, but she was a bit of a lonely person. She liked being lonely. Like she'd go and sit in a room on her own. And some people, it works for them, to be honest. Like sometimes you don't need everyone around you, and you don't need all these group of friends and things. You can succeed on your own being lonely. But yeah, I just think got to keep moving forward. Like you said, if you have got a group of friends that are doing whatever and like not helping you, and like you've got to go through a bit of a lonely chapter to get where you got to be. Eventually, you can go back to them friends when you succeed. Like you can still be your friends, but for temporary, you've got to move forward and do what you've got to do to get where you need to be. And like you said, the life afterwards of going out drinking and whatever else you want to do and enjoy life is always there afterwards. That's the way you got to look at it.
So you figured out that you wanted to be a boxer from what age? Like 10, did you say? 11?
Yeah, well, I was 9 when I first stepped into a gym.
Okay.
So,
and what age would you say that you like really felt like I want to?
Probably 10 and 11. Yeah, when I first started having my first fights is when I realised that I really want to do it and pursue it. And like you said, as a kid, I've just stuck with it. And like I remember writing a status after my British title fights. From the age of 9, I've sacrificed pretty much my whole life to be where I am now. And like you said, and it does hurt, like losing, but you realise you know the end goal. So it's like you've got to keep moving forward, keep positive, keep your good surroundings. And
you were quite fortunate to stumble across like boxing as a thing that you wanted to do at quite a young age, and there's quite a lot of people who
get stuck in between.
Yeah,
I know a few boxers though that have been very good footballers and they've been good at a few things, and then they got to choose one. That's quite a tough thing. But lucky enough, really for me, I wasn't really good at football. I wasn't really good at anything else apart, and then I had a natural bit of probably a little bit of natural talent for boxing. So yeah, I was fortunate just to be able to. It was easy. I didn't have to choose, where some kids might choose boxing over football and then realise they was probably better at football, and then they've kind of
There's always that
you get
fear.
stuck a little bit, and then you ended up probably not pursuing either because they're stuck in between two sports, and they're probably better at one thing but enjoyed the other thing better, and it's just.
There's always that fear, I think, for a lot of people that if they choose one path, it's at the sacrifice of all the other potential ways that they could go.
Could have gone, yeah.
Yeah. What would you say to the person who maybe hasn't stumbled across that thing that they actually feel a passion for, feel a love for, and they're looking for their own thing to maybe go down?
I think, like I say, if it's in sports like football, boxing, and things, I think you've got, as a young person, I feel like you've got to find your way. Like, just keep doing probably the couple of different sports and see what one you enjoy. You've always got to go with what you enjoy most, I think, not what you're probably, even if you're like a little bit better at football but enjoy boxing more, I think you've got to pursue what you're enjoyable about, because you won't want to look back and think, oh, I didn't enjoy that. Although I was good at it, I didn't enjoy it. I think to succeed, you've got to have a passion and you've got to enjoy it. You can't just, like say, you might be good at football but you don't enjoy it, you hate every minute of it. You're not enjoying your life.
Yeah. So there's a Japanese concept. It's called ikigai, and it's basically there's 4 parts to it. There's what you love, what you're good at, what you can be paid for, and what the world needs. Yeah. And in the middle of that is kind of like your purpose, is like what you are kind of meant to do, and the importance is filling all of those things. And like you said, if you don't love it or you don't enjoy it, there's no way you're going to be successful at it because your mind's not there with it. And yeah, there's being disciplined and being able to, keep yourself focused when you just, you can't be bothered, can't be bothered to get up, go to the gym that day or whatever, and you just got to keep going and stuff. What would you say are like your personal ways for keeping your mind in check? Like, how do you go about your day making sure that you stay straight?
Don't get me wrong, there's days you wake up and you ain't got the motivation to go to the gym, and there's like days you don't really want to do it, but I feel like I think when you do something, like, I know I've got for me personally, even if I'm not motivated to go and do that thing that day, once I do it, I feel loads better for it, and I feel that's what keeps me in check.
So the anticipation for, like, of not wanting to do it, is just.
I feel like you've just got to go past through it. Yeah, like if I don't want to get up, like especially when I'm in camp, there's days you get up and you're sore and you're aching. You feel, I can't go running. I don't want to go running today. I haven't got the motivation for boxing. I don't want to do this. Don't want to do that. Once you've done it, you feel so much better for it, and then like it helps your mental state as well. Like, because if you don't do it, and like if you do, I feel like if I'm not motivated to do it and I don't do it, I feel even worse than I would if I'm not really motivated to go and do it, but I go and do it anyway. I feel like it helps my mental state more than anything.
I like the quote, fear is a mile wide and an inch deep. So like if you don't want to do, it's not just fear, but like the not wanting to do something, which is a lot of the time driven by fear.
Yeah.
You see this massive ocean that you've got to cross, and then you step into it and you realise you can just walk straight through it.
Yeah.
Do you find that kind of like, do you get that feeling with when you don't want to train and stuff, you think, oh, I really don't want to do that, and then you do it and you think, oh, it's actually all right.
Yeah, it's not as hard as what you think it is. I think it definitely is. There's days you don't want to do it, but once you do it, you sail through it, and like you said, and you actually sometimes enjoy that session more than you would a session you're not. I think you've just got to push through. It's a mental barrier in a way, isn't it? Like if you don't want to do something, it's a bit of a mental barrier. You don't want to do it, but I feel like if you push through that barrier and you do it, you feel so much better for it.
What would you say is the importance for you? Because sometimes you'll feel motivated. You'll feel like, yeah, I got this. I want to go have a good session, good gym session, good sparring session, whatever. When that goes, do you really feel a big difference between your motivation and discipline, or do you know your discipline is strong enough to keep you going?
I'd say my discipline's so strong it just keeps me going. Like even when I don't want to do something, I'm so disciplined that I'll do it anyway. And I think that's what's kind of got me through even my whole career now. There's days that I don't want to do it, and days I don't feel like motivated, and days I don't, and my discipline just gets me through every time because I know you don't want to lose again. Like all that goes through my mind is I don't want to lose again. I don't want to slip up again. And is that person training like that? My next opponent could be training harder than me. So it's just like, yeah.
It's interesting that you say that, because obviously, like you aspire to be the world champion, and you have goals up here as like a pull motivator, but the fear of losing again sounds like it's your biggest motivator.
Yeah.
And they did a really interesting study on rats where basically they put a block of cheese in front of the rat, and they measured how hard the rat pulled when it saw cheese. And then they put a cat behind the rat, and they measured how hard the rat pulled when there was a cat behind it. The rat pulled ridiculously amount more when the cat was behind it, so fear was the biggest motivator.
Yeah.
Do you find that with yourself as well? Like, the thought of losing again in comparison to winning a belt, obviously the thought of winning a belt is nice.
Yeah.
But what do you feel motivates you more?
Probably the fear of losing again, yeah. I think the fear of the belts, everything like that is nice, and like you said, it's a big achievement and thing, but losing, nothing worse than losing. Especially I'm quite a competitive person, even like to anything really. I can go and do an IROX, and like my mates will tell you, it's just, so yeah, I'd say definitely my fear is my biggest motivator. Like you said, thought of losing, I don't want that to happen again, so it makes you train even harder. I'm a competitive person anyway, so like it pushes me even harder, and I don't like people beating me. I don't like it. So it's just, that's what keeps me so disciplined and motivated and training hard, because I don't want to lose, or I don't want to like come unstuck again, sort of thing.
Fear can get either side of you though, right? It can get in front of you, or it can get behind you. You can let it push you towards your goals, or you can let it block you from your goals.
Yeah.
The only obstacles you will face in your life are the ones you set up in your own brain, like the self-doubt and the worry about, because for a lot of people, the worry about losing makes them not want to do it in the first place.
Yeah.
How do you
they
break
won't take
through
that chance. I think for me, yeah, the fear of losing that makes you not want to do it. The fear of losing, I would do it.
Do you reckon your pull motivator is strong enough to help you break through the fear of?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, definitely. Like, I think the fear of losing only makes me better, to be honest. Some people it can break. Some people go in their shell a little bit, and like that's when they do, and eventually they'll lose a fight like that because they're frightened to chuck back or like throw punches back, and they just go up and end up losing a fight. I think the fear for me makes me fight even better than like the British title fight. I was on absolute fire the first 7-8 rounds, because you probably had that bit of fear. Don't want to lose. It's a massive fight. You're in his backyard. It's against a massive name, unbeaten kid. It was a little bit of fear there, so it made you box even better. I think when you don't have that fear, you don't perform as well. For me anyway, I don't perform as well if I don't have no fear or nerves. I won't perform as well as I do with a little bit of nerves and fear. That's just the way I think my mindset works. I just yeah.
You need that. What's next for Henry Turner? Have you got boxing fights coming up?
Yeah, so my next fight is looking at the end of January now. a little bit frustrated because I probably wanted to box this side of Christmas. But like you said, with boxing, it's a business. There's politics involved, and like we got to wait for certain fights to happen before, like, because I think we're looking at a fight, so we got to wait for the outcome of that to see what determine the next opponent, next title. But yeah, I think end of January, so the start of 2026 is my first title, hopefully as a professional, on the 24th of January. It's looking like. So yeah, that's my next move, and like you said, starting a new chapter now at the new weight.
What class are you going into?
I'm moved up to welterweight, so I was at super lightweight before. So this year I had these 2 comeback fights at welterweight, so I'm at my next weight now. So now next year, yeah, it's pushing for titles, and like this is where I think my 2026 will be my breakthrough year, just because I'm matured a lot more. I'm at a better weight. I'm a lot stronger now, and I feel like I'm a lot more experienced, and I feel like I probably will have probably one of my best years yet at 2026.
How can we follow you? How can we follow your boxing?
So all my fights are normally on DAZN.
DAZN, yeah.
DAZN, I don't know.
Yeah,
I think everyone gets a little bit confused with it. Follow me all on my social media channels, Henry Turner. Yeah, so most of it is all televised, all my fights. Probably see quite a few interviews here and there on YouTube. Yeah, just keep following, watch this space, and hopefully 2026 is a big year.
Awesome. So the last guest I had, I asked him, what would you like to ask the next guest that I have on? He said, what's one thing that you would change about yourself if you could?
One thing I could change about myself. I'm not really a person that lives with regrets. So it's like, I think everything happens for a reason in a way. So there's not really much I change it. I mean, I'd like to change not losing.
Yeah.
If I could. But like I said, I don't really look back with any regrets at the same time. I feel like everything happens for a reason.
Yeah, well, even that loss, I suppose, like, it's taught you the most, right?
Yeah,
so
it's taught you the most. So yeah, you can't. Some things you can't change, like you said, and some things happen for a reason, and like you said, it only makes you better. So yeah, I wouldn't say I look back with any regrets and think there's anything I can change. To be honest, I think it just life's for your experience. Life's for experience.
A good answer. It's the answer I was hoping for from a guest.
Yeah.
To that question, because I agree with you. I don't think that living with regrets, no matter how big of a mistake you make,
like you said, life's for like you experience life's for experiences, and if you live with regrets, it's always going to eat you up in your mind. So I feel like you've just got to
brings you down in the moment.
Everything happens for a reason, and you'll get where you need to be eventually.
And what would you like to ask the next guest that I have on? You can think about this one, no rush.
Next guest that you have on.
And you have no idea who it's going to be, so.
What is probably their biggest goals moving forward in their life, in general, not just in business, sport?
Big objective.
Just their big objective in total of what.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. Henry, thank you, my friend.